All right. Hey, everyone. What's going on? Welcome to the channel, whether you're new or returning. Really appreciate you taking your time out to check out another live stream I have this week, but also another interview. This time I have an opportunity to interview a director who has got a movie documentary coming out throughout different dates in different territories, but in the UK on September 25th, called Cats of Malta. I was very fortunate enough to get an early screener for this, and we are going to talk to the director right now. So please welcome to the stream, Sarah Jayne Portelli. So, hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Hey,
Thanks
hey. You're welcome. And this is Sarah's first ever kind of YouTube live stream as well. So trying something different. But no, Sarah, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. So thank you for joining.
No worries. Thanks for having me and for watching the film as well.
Yeah, of course. So the thing is, I got the email initially with Cats of Malta, and I get a few emails saying, check out the screener, and I always like supporting kind of independent films and lower budget ones, not just like the kind of Hollywood blockbusters. And I saw it, and I was like, wow, well, I'm a cat person, and as we discussed kind of offline, got Maltese heritage, something that we share in common. So I was like, wow, okay. I was like, right, request the screener. So I requested it. I watched it that day, and I loved it. I really, really did. So a massive applause to you, Ivan, and the crew who were involved in this really, really awesome project.
Yeah, we're really happy with the film, and I think it's a very easy watch, even if people don't like cats. I think it's something that people will still enjoy.
Right. And I kind of grasp that message as well throughout watching it. Of course, if you're a cat person, I think you're definitely going to love it. Absolutely. But if you're like just an animal person, or you want to see maybe a country you don't know much about with Malta, there's definitely plenty there for that kind of audience as well. I believe so.
Yeah, I believe that's true as well, because there's a lot of different aspects to it as well. Like it'll get people in who like to see different country, because Malta is very rich in history and it's a bit educational, and there's the human cat connection. So there's a few different elements in there which make it special.
Right. Yeah, and that is definitely sprinkled throughout the documentary, even as we meet some people who we will talk about as well in the stream. Very quickly, Sarah, just want to let you know that I've got my brother in the chat.
Cool.
My brother's called, he's saying, let's go, looking forward to the live stream. And he also says, Forza Malta. Yeah. So, Sarah, so just to kind of start things off before we go into the movie, of course, we've talked a little bit offline, but maybe people is seeing you for the first time here. To kind of a little bit of an icebreaker, get to know you kind of question here. What would you say is a movie that you've watched recently that you fell in love with, whether it was for a first time or on a rewatch?
I'm trying to think what I watched recently. The last thing I watched was Barbie.
Was it?
And it was a film that I'm a Greta Gerwig fan from like the early days, or when she was acting, because Mumblecore films really inspired my own work as a director and as a writer. And I was like, I'm never watching the Barbie film. I can't. She's doing a Barbie film. But I watched it and I was just like, oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. It was musical as well, which was fun. And yeah, Ryan Gosling was amazing. But that's the last thing I watched. And then just a few like indie things that I've been watching at home. But yeah, that was like the biggest kind of, I don't usually watch mainstream cinema, but I thought it's Barbie and it's Greta Gerwig, so I got to go watch it.
Right. And yeah, and so far as like a film director, she's had a fantastic track record and done some
I like a lot of films too. So.
And I enjoyed Barbie as well. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm glad that it's had its success that it has as well. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, that's awesome to hear. So for kind of, again, as people don't really know you, so Sarah, how did you kind of get your start in filmmaking?
Accidentally. I was a creative at a young age, so I was always dancing, and my mum tried to put me into acting and modeling when I was younger, and so I was a creative from a young age. I used to paint, to draw my own picture books, so there was something there already, and I won awards at school for like painting murals and things like that, and then I kind of did nothing in my 20s artistically. I was just working like 2 jobs, just trying to make money the Maltese way, go make money. working
Right.
to have a house. So I was like working like crazy and spending it on frivolous things. And then I got a call and someone said, "Oh, I heard you're a fantastic art director." And I was working in a supermarket. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. And they told me to come and work on this TV production in Melbourne. I was in Melbourne at the time. I was in my 20s because I've been doing this for like over 10 years, unfortunately, a long time. And I went on there and I don't know how to do posters and how to create art and everything. She's like, "Oh, just go and build the set." So I started building the set with a small crew. We built this massive police station and I dressed it. And then I was like, this is actually what I want to do. This is like sparking something in me. So I kept volunteering on friends' roles and just looking through the production list all the time for Melbourne crews to try get work. Unfortunately, it was a lot of volunteer work through full-time work. But through that, I met Ivan, who's my partner, and we got married. So we've been together for a long time, over 10 years as well, probably as long as I've been doing this film. So I met him and I was working with him on shorts and a couple of features that he was doing at Nexus Production Group, his company at the time. I was working as an art department person. And then from there, I just started directing in 2013 because I had a story I wanted to tell. And Ivan's like, "I'll produce it for you." So that's kind of how I got into directing in 2013. And through Ivan was helping me produce my film. And from there, I made 3 short films under Nexus. I was part of the company. And, we've become a company in Malta, so we're taking it more seriously. And since 2017, we've started to really hone in on what we want to do and do education and sales and try to make 2 films a year and just trying to really make it a business and make some profit. So we're taking it seriously now.
Wow, that's an amazing journey, and especially as you started, as you said, accidentally kind of getting into this route as well.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from being on set. People say, "Oh, you didn't study." I'm like, "No, but I learned how to read call sheets from like the line producer, and I was thrown on set, so I learned etiquette and I learned the language. So it's not like I didn't have any education because I was educated on set, and I think that works for some people. It worked for me.
Right, and I think it's kind of a great way to learn, like the hands-on experience, and you're going to take whatever lessons you learn from a couple of different people and apply your own style to that eventually. So
yeah, and even watching other directors, like I've worked in costume before. Like people tell me come work in costume, and I've worked in costume in Melbourne when I was starting, when I was working for like low budget and free stuff, and just watching other directors, how they work with actors and how actors behave. So I learned a lot about that, and for me that's really important, especially for what I do now, because we make improvised films besides our documentaries, which is kind of similar. It's still kind of stuff happening when you don't expect it. So yeah, so I've learned a lot just from being on set and just working with people and finding out what works and what doesn't.
Right. Yeah, and I noticed that as well when I was looking through kind of the IMDb for yourself. You got those improvised films. You did start with short as well. I noticed that. Then, of course, I had a Machination last year. And then this year we've got Cats of Malta. So, yeah, very impressive. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your future works, which we'll talk about at the end of the stream as well. I'm definitely curious to see what you're working on in the background.
I'm actually in Malta for a different film. I just found myself here. So the release is in 2 days, and I'm actually here for a different screening on Friday, so for another film, but we can talk about that later. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. So firstly, just before we kind of kick things off, I just want to say for anyone who's interested in checking out Cats of Malta, and you probably will be by the end of this, a couple of release dates just for you to know. September 21st, it is going to be released in Malta and Spanish, like kind of Latin American territories, if I've got that right.
Yes.
Awesome. September 25th is in UK and Ireland on Amazon, Apple TV and VOD. October 3rd is in America, is that right?
Yeah.
And Canada?
America and Canada, yes, the US.
Awesome. And then October 11th is France, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and Belgium.
And we'll have probably more platforms as well to announce. For now, we're just like waiting for our distributors to like give us more news. It's just all unfolding.
Right.
And we had a screening in LA today, so I want to have a shout out to Smalls. I don't know if they're going to be watching this, but there was a screening, a live screening in LA, which was really cool, in a bookstore. So we're up for that as well if anyone wants to book a screening.
Wow. Oh, that's really cool. So in the LA screening earlier, did you do kind of like this kind of like Zoom call with them as well?
No, I didn't do that. They just licensed the film and then they can do their screening with an agreement with me. And yeah, so they're allowed to do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool, and I hope it was a success as well. And
I hope so too. I'm waiting for photos, but I think they sold out. So that, from what I heard, there were only a few seats left to sell. So today, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's good to see it. It's good to see it in the company of people. Like I've seen it at test screenings, and I like the reaction. And I do miss cinema. I wish it was long enough for cinema, but it's not. And it's a shame because it is like a movie that you watch with your family and your friends. So that would be nice. But yeah, that's why live screenings and virtual screenings, we're up for that because we think it is a film that is good to be watched. Obviously alone, if you want to watch it alone, it'll make you smile. But in a group, it's more special, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. And kind of is in that group setting, you can have a conversation about it afterwards and take away what you've learned from it. Again, as we said, getting an exploration of Malta too. So, yeah, a lot to take from it, I would say. Yeah, I agree. Sarah, we've also got a couple of comments coming in as we're talking. I've got a friend of mine called Scott. He says he's definitely going to check out the documentary and he's looking forward to it as well.
Thanks, Scott.
It's awesome. And we've got Adam who says, hello, Mike and Sarah. Definitely watching this documentary very soon and he can't wait.
Cool. Me out from Malta.
Yeah, well, hey, Adam, thank you so much. And
cool.
really, my brother Joe's asking Sarah, which I wanted to ask you. So we know about where it's going to be streamed on Amazon, Apple TV, and VOD. Will it be getting a DVD or Blu-ray release? Do you know?
We always make DVDs for our film because we're very old school in our mindset, and we know people like to collect. And I've had people tell me that they've had Keddy on DVD and they'd love to have Cats of Malta. I've had those messages, and of course we're going to put it on DVD with like a bonus interview and anything else we can find to throw on there. So definitely it will be coming, and I'm working on merchandise. It's just been a bit hectic. So there is some merch on the website, but I'm working on a photo book and we're working on a DVD. So that'll be later.
Nice. I was going to say, if there's a DVD available, I'll definitely love to purchase one. Sure. But that's awesome. So it's cool to get to know you a little bit. So we're going to dive into a little bit about Cats of Malta now. I've got a couple of questions kind of prepped here. Yeah. So first question I've got, Sarah, is I think I've heard this from somewhere that Cats of Malta was shot in around February time. I don't know if that was 2020, 2021.
The pandemic makes everything a bit skewed. It was around the time of the pandemic and we were in Malta, and it was, I think, 21, because it was before we left Malta. We were there for another year before we left. And the same year we shot Machination. We shot Machination after this one. So so we shot it in, so I think it was 21 in the pandemic, because the pandemic hit and we just bought a camera and the pandemic hit, and that's why we started filming cats, because we couldn't shoot people.
Right, of course. Well, it makes sense. Yeah, definitely. Well, shooting it around that time, so it's been a little bit of time since kind of first initial shooting. So how long has it been roughly since the film kind of wrapped and was edited together?
It took a while because after the release, obviously we did festivals for a while. We went to US premiere last year in Ohio. The festival run actually just ended. We just got our last rejection for the film, so that festival run's over. And I was trying to get it to outreach, so I've got it on PBS. There was a lot of steps to go to try and do it from a business point of view, and now we're just focusing on the release. And PBS will have to be next year because we're still working on that. But it was a lot of steps. Like the interviews took, I think we took I was working full time at the time of filming, so I had to sort of get out of work a few days and had to see when people were available. There was also COVID, so restrictions. Took a few months to shoot, probably 6 or 7 months to shoot the interviews. And then when we were piecing it together, we were like, we need more shots of this. And then we had to do the drone footage, which we had Robert Machea help us out. And we had another person on camera, Lenia Kay, a Maltese up-and-coming DOP. So there was 4 of us. Sometimes, mostly me and Ivan, but there was other people helping us. So it had to be around our schedules and when we could shoot the drone footage and things like that. And then piecing it together, getting the extra bits that we needed. So it took a while, over a year of filming all up. Yeah, and then we had to follow certain stories as well. This happened, so now we have to trace this. And we don't know when this is going to happen. So I'm on the phone, do you know when this is going to happen? So we're just waiting. So with documentary, you never know how long. And then because Ivan shot the film, my partner Ivan shot it, he also edits it. And because I don't edit. I'm not very technical. I'm pretty old school. So yeah, he edited it as well, and it takes a while. And then we actually did like, I remember we went to Australia at one point to visit family, and we were doing in the studio with Mark Farrow, who did the sound design on it. He helped us with the sound. So I was in the studio doing the voiceover properly because it wasn't like sharp. So we were still fixing it up until like, when did we go? Last year? Yeah. So we were still fixing it and honing it, and then getting different links for the PBS and the final link that we wanted. And we had to add the animation was the last thing that we actually added. So we did a lot of the post and stuff in Australia with the sound designers and colorists.
Wow. Okay. So it's been a very long process to get it all together and finally being able to get it released. That's a really cool journey. Because I will say one thing I actually did kind of want to mention here is that I do like the animation parts in the movie, because as you're doing the voiceover kind of slash narration, there was parts where you may be telling the story about maybe a bit of a history of one of the cats that you're talking about, for example. And I thought it was just going to be usually sometimes you just get like a narration just to tell you of what happened in a past event, and then just kind of goes to the present time, but you actually put the effort in to make the animation as kind of like a flashback, and that's one thing I really appreciate about the movie.
Oh, cool. That was Ivan's idea, like a last minute thing, like something you have to do sometimes to fill in gaps. And if something gets a bit stagnant, because we were thinking from the test screening, people were saying the first interview's a bit slow, like how come? And we're like, how are we going to make it punchier? And then we're like, oh, some fun animation. And that was Ivan's idea. I was like, oh, I don't know about animation, but it works. I think everyone's saying that they like the animation. So I trusted Ivan, and it worked, which is why we're a good team, I think, because we trust each other with stuff like that.
Yeah, and definitely huge applause to Ivan as well. As I say, I think just the animation in kind of like telling that kind of story, maybe in a pastime, I think just really helps to just get the point home of like what that cat's journey's had to you. Maybe you've met the cat or that person in the interview.
It's actually funny as well. It adds another layer of humor to it as well.
Right. I really enjoyed it anyway. I thought it was a good touch.
It's cute.
Present applaud to Ivan. So really cool to hear about the present. So after you guys kind of got it all together, you got it all edited, and the movie was ready. So is there any particular reason that made you choose like a September 2023 release?
It was because of the PBS broadcast. We were going to have the PBS broadcast around this time, but we didn't get all the underwriters we wanted, and we just wanted to get it out there. Like, we've been sitting on this for so long, let's just get it out there. And we wanted it around summer in Malta time, so in case we had any live screenings and things like that. But it just happened so like this because of we wanted it August for National Cat Day, but that didn't work out because we went to a distributor. We have a distributor in the UK and the US, and they couldn't get it out earlier than September. So it was like, okay, we'll just roll with September then. It's a good time. Like, it's kind of the end of summer in Malta.
Sure.
People are still probably keen. Like, we know we've released films before in December, and that doesn't work around Christmas. So we thought September is probably a good time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, obviously, of course, only coming from like an outsider, like just like an audience member. Yeah, I think like Christmas time, a lot of time it's just people rushing around for Christmas shopping or sitting down, watching Christmas movies, or maybe a big blockbuster release at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a cool idea. It gives it again, there's always animal lovers out there as well. It's going to find out about this, I think, and attract them to it. So yeah, that's cool. But no, that's awesome. So what gave you the idea of Cats of Malta? I know you said it was kind of during pandemic, and of course you couldn't shoot people, but what was there a particular reason you're like, wow, okay, there's these cats, let's make a documentary about it?
Because when we first moved to Malta in 2017, I believe it was, in the heat wave, we were walking around everywhere, and we kept seeing colonies, and at 5 p.m. people would be feeding in the evening, they would be feeding in the morning. We're like, okay, what's going on with these cats? We always had those questions in the back of our mind, and we started to like notice that there's something going on here. And even there's Facebook groups, and I was getting really interested in it. And as a dog person, I was quite fascinated by cats, because I've had encounters with cats before when I was grieving, and I find that there's this cat magic. And I was like, okay, these cats are everywhere. There's something going on with the community here. And then we bought a camera because we wanted to start shooting our own film. We didn't want to actually hire people to shoot our films for us because we wanted to be independent, like totally independent. Right. So we started filming cats because of the curfew. They said you can't have more than 6 people in a group. We're like, oh, we were going to shoot a narrative film. We had a different story. And we're like, oh, we can't actually have people. We don't know what's going on too. It was a very cloudy, like no one knew what was happening. Like, what is this health scare that's going on? Like no one can be in groups. And it was like mass panic at the start. So we went and filmed cats. And then I was actually working full time and I saw Matthew Pandolfino was painting the cat statue. And I was scrolling on Instagram and I was like, oh, this guy's painting the statue. So I just got in touch with him. He's like, yes, call me. And I'm like, okay. So I called him and then we did like 5 interviews with him in different times of the day. And then I was working in February before the pandemic. I was working on a short film in Malta and I met Polly March, a British, and then I saw her posting, oh, I can't go and feed the cats at my colonies. Can someone else go? Because elderly people are not allowed to go and feed because of the pandemic, because they're at risk. And I thought, oh, she's a cat feeder. So I just started going on the easiest things that I could find. Okay, I got the guy with the statue. I got the older British actress, and I noticed she was great because she looked great on camera when they were filming her. And so I got her, and then I thought Isaac, because they're like, I'm trying to mix it up. So I got Isaac, the 11-year-old boy who feeds cats, and it just snowballed from there. Then Cat Cafe, and then who else could I find? So it just snowballed because we were getting lots of footage of cats. We had so much footage of them, and then we just pieced it together. So let's do this story about the cats since there's so many. And we knew there was a book. There's another book similar to it, like it talks about like the Maltese cats. So that was something that we were kind of we knew about it already. So
wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting journey, and especially as you came across like that cat statue as well, which is really cool. Is that near Slima? Was that right?
Yes, it's in Independence Gardens, and there's actually a couple other ones. There's in the fishing villages of Marsha Schlock, and I think Marsa Scala. There's another one. There's 2 statues of like men. It's actually in the documentary as well. So there's a couple of statues. There's a few different things in Malta, statues and monuments which depict animals or cats. So yeah, and the cat statue is the biggest one. And then there's a weather vane as well in Mjar, which Matthew also did. So there's that as well, the weather vane. And we talk about it, like that's the law side of the documentary. It talks more about the Maltese people and the law. It would be good to go into that more, like how people feel about animals and cats, like way back, like the history. Like we couldn't get too much of that, unfortunately, in the documentary, but we got some from Matthew.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting the approach that you take here, because it is described as kind of like a family-friendly documentary, which I would definitely agree. But it also, I don't feel as if you shy away too much from the other side of that, where it's not so family-friendly to an extent. To the point where people can enjoy this, but also there's that serious message underlying about, look, there's a real problem here. We need to address this.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that balance that I think this has.
Yeah. Some reviews were saying that was a bit one-sided, but that's interesting because there's only so much you can fit as well. And what perspective do you want to choose to have? Like, we could have gone all depressing and talked about, cats getting killed and things like that, but we didn't want to go that way. We wanted to hear more about the human-cat connection. We had a little bit of that in Polly's one. She's saying, cats getting misplaced and things like that. But we wanted to focus more on a different kind of angle. It's like,
Yeah, you're right. And, I think it's going to be interesting, like the audience reception, because you're right. I feel like for me, I enjoyed it because I felt like it was nice, it was uplifting, but again, it had the serious message in there that it's important for people to take away. Whereas you're right, it could have been like, 59 minutes, an hour, where it was just sad, it was just depressing. And, that is effective, but you do want the lightheartedness in there as well.
Yeah. We were inspired by Kitty as well. Like, Kitty's one of our favorite movies, and that one's really lighthearted, and it looks more at the cat's kind of perspective on things. But we wanted more about the human-cat connection. So yes, we could have gone more into the environmental issues and all that kind of stuff, but we didn't want to go sort of that way. Like, we wanted to get more of the story of the people and the cats. That's what it's about, like how cats unite the island. So it's about the community. So.
Right. And as you've mentioned, there's always room maybe in the future to maybe go that environmental route if you ever chose to,
Yeah.
And history.
We can do cats in other countries. Like everywhere we travel, we see cats, and I take pictures, and I'm like, oh, I've got cats in all different countries, and I've shot them on my film camera, and all different cats everywhere. I can make like a map of all the countries I've been to that have cats. So yeah, and there's more stories to tell in Malta too. We couldn't capture everything. I know more people who have cats, and people have been messaging me, oh, I have cats here in my, my building, you can come. But yeah, there's so many, we can't do everything.
Right.
It could be a TV series. He wants to do that, option that.
Yeah, mini series like, hey, Cats of Malta 2, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? But no, that's really interesting to hear. And kind of speaking on what we were talking about, about how this kind of came together. You mentioned two names there, Polly March and Isaac Muscat, for example. So how did you come across them? I know you touched it briefly, but did you kind of go through Facebook and scroll for, kind of people putting posts about it? How did it kind of transpire?
I think I was talking to people on Facebook, because Malta, everything runs on Facebook. Like a lot of businesses don't have websites. They have like, you just go, oh, click on our website, and it goes straight to Facebook. I'm like, oh, that's odd. But and even they have their own like little, Facebook, eBay and things like this. I'm like, eBay, and I click on it and it's like a Facebook page. I'm like, okay, that's strange. But everyone's sort of like connects through there. So even the cat communities, like if you want to find a stray cat, if your cat's missing, you post on Facebook, and everyone helps each other. So there's a community there. So I was kind of like, sometimes I would connect the cats to the person. Like I'd find the cat, like with Nanu, my favorite, my baby. I love him, the three-legged cat. I found him and I put it into Facebook, and I'm like, okay, there's this cat. And I could put a photo of him. I said, what's his name and who do I talk to find his story? Like, what's his story? And people were like, oh, that's this cat, and he's here, and you can find this guy. And then it led me to two boys, and then it's like a puzzle, like, and then you're like a detective, like you're going, okay, so two boys, okay, so who was working at Two Boys? And then, oh, I contacted this guy, and this guy's like, oh, I don't work there anymore, but there's this guy, and it's like, okay, so let's just go, like Sherlock Holmes. So that's what I was doing on my break, because I was working full-time in insurance, and it just keeps going. And I heard about things, like I knew about Cat Village, obviously, because I'd walked through there, and I used to sit there and pat the cats. And then you kind of just know people. Everyone knows everybody. So Malta's small. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows everyone's business. So
wow,
and
okay.
they kind of intertwine as well. Like there's that story with Salavu when he talks about Nano. He talks about Rosa helping Silver as well, like one of the cats that's mentioned. So they all sort of entwine. And I know that Rosa also helped Isaac when he was like trapping and neutering. So they all sort of help each other. And Facebook is how they all connect, and sort of how I found everybody in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Wow, okay. Yeah, that's very unique that it's so connected in Malta via Facebook. I haven't been in Malta in about 10 years, I would say. It's been probably a bit too long.
It's changed a lot since then. First time I came, I was in my late 20s, I think. It was like 13 years ago. And it's very different now. And I've been a few times, obviously, and I lived here for 4 years. So it was different when I lived here to when I first came.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool to hear the differences. But one thing that I thought was unique, as you mentioned, like, everything's connected through Facebook. And I like that in the documentary that we see that, it's Isaac's in here. He was like, as you mentioned, like 11 years old.
Yes,
and he's spending, right, and maybe about 13, 14 possibly now. But at the time when you were filming it, though, he says in the movie that he was spending money that he earns, or money that maybe his mom or his grandma gives him, and he's feeding up to like 30 to 50 cats a day.
He's inspirational. He's like the youngest cat feeder, and he's the only one who has his own trap, his own cat trap. So he calls it a job. So he actually takes it quite seriously, which is beautiful as well. He's very beautiful boy.
Yeah, definitely. And
I wouldn't be glad if I didn't get that interview.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I think it's like a very powerful one in there to show that it starts from, even someone at the time 11 years old all the way up to, say, an older generation, like doing this. And with
I wanted to show different perspectives. I didn't want like all young people or old people or all people from like one kind of background, like all artists or something. I wanted a mix. So
yeah, and I think that's a great approach to it as well, because in this, and I will also applaud the movie for doing this as well. it doesn't just skip around to person like all the time. Which I like the ending where it's telling like Polly's story, right? Then we go on to Isaac, then we go on to someone else, and I like that, not just kind of going around the houses, and it's
Yeah. I
yeah.
like
So I really I just think it was a good way to tell the story, and at least you kind of stick with that person, stick with their journey. Right, we've heard maybe the end of theirs, so we go to the next person and learn about them now. Yeah, I really like that.
There's so many ways to make documentaries. Like we're always watching documentaries to find like the different styles, and it's something we're still learning about. This was our first documentary that we made. Ivan made sort of one early in his career, but this is like the first serious one that we made, and then we've made another one. So since then, but which was more, that one was shot in like a few weeks, but this one, Cats of Malta took longer. Obviously, it's more special.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And as I say, I can't wait for people to check it out. So Sarah, a couple of other questions I've got here is, so since wrapping up filming, have you kind of heard through Facebook or through maybe locals about maybe more awareness being made for stray cats?
I know the government has put a lot of money now into neutering cats, trapping and neutering cats, because they understand that there is a problem in Malta. So they're actually like recognizing it and putting a lot of money into it to try and trap and neuter cats. There's only so much that sanctuaries can do because they're NGOs and they need money, and they rely on donations. But I know the government is helping more now. Last I saw, they're doing like this campaign, and they're putting like, I can't remember the amount. I actually should know this because I did an interview with someone and I was doing research on this, but I can't remember the amount. I think they had 50,000 and then they upped it to 200,000. I'm not sure if the numbers are correct, but there's a lot more money than what they initially had, and they're like trying to trap and neuter the cats in Malta. So they understand that there's a problem. I think a lot of it comes from education too. I wish there was more education, but I think that is generational, as Polly says in the film. There's just something that people do with cats, that they have this idea what cats are for, which is strange, but yes.
Yeah, I agree. I wish there was more education as well, because I will admit, for most of my life, I was a dog person.
Same.
Like yourself, I don't know about you, but I never had a cat ever in my life. And I met my partner, Emma, and she had 2 cats, and I was like, okay, this is a bit different. But I wouldn't change it for a thing. I absolutely love them. So they're fantastic.
Yeah, I lived with a cat with my ex-boyfriend, like way back when I was living in the mountains in New South Wales, and he had a cat and I had a dog, and they got along great together. They used to catch mice together. And she's the cat that actually taught me a lot about the cat magic that I was talking about. Like when I was grieving the death of a friend, she would like do these things and she would interact with me differently. And I said, okay, the cats have got something. There's something going on with cats that are just special. And I've heard a lot of stories from other people, and things that my friend's husband was telling me when my friend passed, that the cats used to sleep on her pillow, and like they know that she's gone. Like there's this connection to people all the time, and they always know when something's wrong or when something's different. And I think that's beautiful, and that's what made me a cat person. And in the documentary too, they talk about patting cats actually makes you calm. When we were filming, I found myself just staring into space and just patting these cats while they're purring, and it's beautiful. And now I'm a cat mum too, so I just adopted a cat last Christmas, so not even a year yet. And we can't imagine our life without him. He's a beautiful feature.
Right. And so how many cats do you own now then?
Just one, because my apartment is only like 40 meters squared and it's a penthouse with no garden, so there's only enough room for 2 people in that place. And one cat is enough for now. There's no room for any more cat litter, because we'd be putting it on our luggage at this point.
Right.
So we want more, but and we don't know if we travel a lot too. So 1 cat is good for now. Like he's getting used to sitters and things like that. So.
Right, of course, yeah, because obviously I'm assuming you travel a lot for like doing different filming projects that you guys are doing.
Yes, we left him alone for like 2 weeks when we were in Berlin, and we were driving back, and we just all day we're like, we have to get back to Feature. We just want to see Feature. Everything was like, I wonder what he's doing. I want to see him. I miss him. So everything was like, we have to get back to him. So it's hard when you've got a cat.
Yeah, definitely. And well, I was going to ask you, so with your cat that you did adopt, did you adopt from the shelter, or was the actual stray cat as well, or?
through Facebook. It was a stray cat that was living in cars. That's why his name's Ficho. It's like it's like the way that the Croatians say Fiat. So they call it like Ficho. It's like a small little Fiat car. And I was looking it up, and they actually have Ficho tours around the coast, which I want to do for my birthday. They take the old cars and they drive around. So Ficho came from a Facebook group. I can't say the town where he came from because it's Croatian and I'm going to stuff it up and look like an idiot. But he came from this town like half an hour out of Zagreb. It's a beautiful town, and he came from there. And I found him on Facebook. A lady was saying, a guy was posting it first. He was like, "Oh, we need someone." He was at a foster house, and I kept seeing his picture every time I'm on Facebook in these like groups. I'm like, how can he not be adopted? He must be adopted. And I kept messaging the guy, and he wasn't answering. And then I found someone else was posting it. I'm like, I messaged a lady. She's like, yes, I can bring him. I'm like, yes, bring him. He's so cute. And I'm like, how is he not adopted? Yeah, he was too playful for the cat that he was with. The other cat he was with was older, and he wanted to play all the time. And the other cat was like going insane. So she's like, I need to give him away, but I love him. But yeah, so we're lucky to have him. He's a very beautiful cat. He makes our life much richer.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And especially as you guys are traveling and you come back home, got the cat to look forward to, and a bit care and attention, you know. Yeah, that's awesome. So what is
a good substitute?
Right. So what would you say in Zagreb? What would you say that kind of like the stray cats is like there?
Zagreb, we have a small, I don't know much about Zagreb, but I'm in a group in Zadar, and my heart breaks every time I'm in that group because they actually have a big problem with stray cats in Zadar, which is like a beachside town a couple of hours away from where we are in Zagreb. So I think they have a stray cat problem because every day there's like 5 or 6 posts. I've got 5 kittens. I need to get rid of these kittens. I've found these cats. Oh, this cat is in my garden and I can't find the mother. I need someone to come and take it away. And I'm just like, how are there like 6 or 7 posts every day, sometimes with 5 cats in each post? And I wrote on there, like, this is heartbreaking. Why are there so many cats? Like, what's going on? And someone said, don't be angry at us. It's not our fault. Like, you know, we're trying to help them, but there's no help from the government. So that was heartbreaking. So maybe cats some Zadar next. So, and I know Bosnia, we visited Bosnia like before we moved to Zagreb, and they've got a big stray dog problem as well. Like I had stray dogs following me around, and I was just walking through town crying because these dogs were following me, and I'm just like, oh, please go away because you're killing me. I'm like, can we take it home? Can we take it back somewhere with us? Well, we were in between homes then. We're like, where are we going to? I can't just take a dog in our hire car. Yeah, it's hard when you see stray animals. It's just really sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And especially when they're following you around, you want to try to feed them, give them water and stuff. Yeah. And did you find the fact like you and maybe the crew would kind of have moments where you'd break down when filming Cats of Malta, experiencing this?
There were a lot of touching moments. Like I don't want to give away too much, but the Cat Village one was heartbreaking. Like watching Rosa go through that, even talking to her now, she's still not okay with it. So. Yeah, poor thing. So I still talk to her, and every time I ask her, she's like, oh.
Right.
It was part of her life for so long. So there's those moments, and obviously there's other moments in the film that we were like, didn't know if the cat was going to be okay and things like that. So we were always on the edge. And then you have to find that balance as a filmmaker. So you're like, oh, this is going to make a great story, but I don't actually want to write and ring up and say, oh, but is the cat okay? Like what's happening? Like I need the story. There's like that weird balance. Like I want to call and I want to ask what's going on because it's going to be great for the documentary. But also I have a heart as well. And I'm just like, I know you're grieving because your cat is missing or your cat's at the vet, but what's happening now? I need to know for my film. It's just really sad. Like that's something I grapple with a lot as doing documentaries. Like I want to get the story, but I'm not a mean person, and not going to walk over someone for something. So.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's about having that balance. Definitely, yeah, and it's very touchy, obviously, for people involved, and you know, kind of like sit-down interviews you have with these people as well.
Yeah.
So in Malta, when it releases in September 21st, where can people? Yeah, where can people watch it?
It's going to be on iTunes. I believe the pre-sale is on now. I think you have to have iTunes or a MacBook to access that, and then Amazon as well. And
Right.
through the filmmakers ourselves, we're going to have only in Europe Vimeo on demand in Europe. So we're setting that up too because it's easier for people, I think, and then you can get it from us. And it has a special feature, as I said. And then it'll be in the US. So far, it's Plex, Tubi, and Amazon. And there'll be more platforms as well, I think, in Belgium and like there's other ones that my distributor has said, but those are the main ones so far. And I'll be listing them on the website as well. So on the catsofmaltafilm.com/watch. And also, if you join the newsletter, I only send news when we have it. Oh, and it's also released in Australia at the moment through Films for Change. So it's in Australia as well, streaming.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
and I want to get it into Japan and stuff, but I haven't got a distributor there yet.
Right. Get you. And that's really cool. And especially in America, because I have a lot of American friends that made through YouTube. And a lot of them always say about Plex or Tubi as well.
Yeah,
So I can definitely, yes, I could definitely promote it to them as well, which will be cool. Well, I've got my friend Scott. He's just saying that he does have to tune out, but he says he's going to watch the rest later. He says it's been a fantastic stream, great host, mate. But Sarah's been an awesome guest, and both take care.
Thank you. Bye, Scott.
So yeah, kind of last question from me, Sarah, before we kind of like wrap up and maybe mention a couple of other release dates. So since kind of filming as well with Cats of Malta, if someone was to go to Malta right now, have they made like like another cat village, or have they made any more places people can visit? That's not shown in the documentary.
They're always fixing things and making it more like there's always people who build different shelters for cats. There is I don't want to give away too much about Cat Village, but there is sort of a cat village at the moment. Some of the cats have moved on and things like that. Some have been homed. That's another sad part about it. And we took too long. And yeah, and the feeders actually don't like us to target cats to actually say where they are. So if I take a photo, I can't say, oh, this cat is here on this street, because it makes people like either dump cats there or, but there are different places. I think anywhere you go in Malta, you'll find cats. So I don't think you'll have a shortage of cats. Like they're everywhere.
Right.
And you can always go and like volunteer as well. Like when I moved to Malta and I wasn't working full time, I volunteered a lot. So the best place to find cats are at Thomasina Cat Sanctuary, Animal Guardians, MS APA. Like there's all different places in Malta where you can help cats and volunteer and bring food. Even if you haven't got time to like volunteer, you can bring food and things like that. So there's always something you can do and get involved. And cats all over the street until they neuter them all, and then we'll see.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool that there's volunteering opportunities, and if there's people out there like Polly and Isaac, for example, just to name a few, hopefully can feed more cats and hopefully get more of the streets as well. At least get a hope.
Yeah, because like Animal Guardians as well is like a no-kill sanctuary, and they have like 200 cats, so they don't kill them. They keep them until the cat passes. So they do a lot. So yeah, they do a lot of different things.
No, well, that's incredible, and I do want to encourage anyone who is watching live or after the fact when the stream ends. Down below in the description box of this live stream is the direct links for Cats of Malta website. So check it out. You get some more news on there. As you mentioned, Sarah, there's T-shirts on there. I think I saw earlier on there was some T-shirts being launched.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hopefully a DVD release as well in the future. I've also left the links as well to Sarah's socials, so Instagram. You can see what Sarah's up to and kind of more promotion about the movie. Sarah, last question from me before we kind of wrap this up is what are you working on in the future? And you also said there's another movie kind of being shown. Is that right?
Yes. Before we left Malta, we shot Machination straight after like Cats of Malta, and so that's still out if people want to watch Machination. Also at the moment I'm in Malta, which is great because it's the premiere so I've got a film called No Woman is an Island. It's about women's rights in Malta, or lack thereof. And it's going to be shown at the University of Malta on Friday, and I'm going to be there speaking on the panel with like Professor Marceline Naudi and a few other like people from the film, and also some people from the women's rights groups. So yeah, it's more focused on politics this one, even though cats can be political as well. So yeah, No Woman is an Island is what I'm promoting now, and I'm looking for a distributor. I'm working on that as well. So yeah, keeping busy.
I
That's
was
why
going to
we
say,
want that.
I was going to say, yeah, I saw that No Woman is an Island on your IMDb. I was going to ask you when that's going to be released.
Yeah, we're still doing festivals with No Woman is an Island, and then we're trying to find a way to release it. Sometimes we use Film Hub. We have an affiliate link as well with Film Hub, so we're affiliates with that. So people want to sign up to Film Hub, you can go to nexusproductiongroup.com. But yeah, if we don't find a distributor, we'll put it on Film Hub and we'll self-distribute it, because we don't shy away from self-distribute our films as well. Like with Cats of Malta, we thought it had a more wider appeal, so we're doing distributing through a distributor. But yeah, like it might end up on Film Hub, and then it will just be sold through us, so directly. So it's an interesting film as well, and I'm going to release the trailer, I think, this week, because I haven't released the trailer yet. So yeah,
I'm definitely intrigued. Definitely am. And I do also want to implore anyone as well. Please also go check out Machination as well. A great movie from 2022, which I think's gone under the radar for me personally.
a little bit. Steffi Take is so good in it. Like, she's such a fantastic actress that she carries the film very well. So
yeah, she's fantastic.
More leading roles for her.
Yeah, she's fantastic in the movie, and I really loved the movie as well. I think I gave it about 3.5 out of 5, maybe a 4. Can't quite remember, but I really enjoyed it. But I've also got, just to add up, Lewis is saying the same evening. He's sorry that he's missed it, but he's going to watch it on the playback as well. So yeah,
cool, Lewis.
Beautiful about the live streams you can watch back. So Sarah, that's kind of the last of my questions. Thank you so much for being here and doing this interview. Really appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And once again, people can catch Cats of Malta October 3rd in America, but also September 25th here in the UK and Ireland. So please go out and buy this, go stream it, and thank you everyone for tuning.
And then from October 3rd, they can also leave us a review on Rotten Tomatoes, because we're trying to get that one up there too. Obviously,
awesome. I haven't actually got a Rotten Tomatoes account, so I'll sign up and I'll leave a review. But of course, word of mouth through Letterboxd as well. I did log a review on Letterboxd.
Yeah, we always get strange reviews on there, but we're getting some good ones for Cats of Malta, so you never know who's on there.
Everyone I've seen so far, I think everyone's given it at least 4 stars, which is incredible.
Cool.
Anthony's just saying congrats on the review, and he's also saying he's hyped for the movie. He is a big cat person as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Jason's saying a good
review. So yeah,
Sarah, yeah, we've had quite a few viewers throughout this as well, flickering in and out, so it's been great. And again, Sarah, thank you for your time. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye from Malta.